The Guild is Maximum Lawyers' community of legal entrepreneurs who are taking their businesses and lives to the next level. As a Guild member, you'll build relationships, be held accountable, and learn strategies specifically designed to get you unstuck and accelerate your plan for growth. Members are also granted exclusive access to masterminds hosted around the country. Our next event is coming up, and we're heading to Scottsdale, Arizona. There's something truly magical about the power of these in-person connections where real-time breakthroughs happen. Picture this. You're surrounded by like-minded law firm owners tackling your business and mindset challenges together. The energy is electric, the insights are transformative, and the results are game-changing. Investing in yourself is the best decision you'll ever make. The knowledge, strategies, and breakthroughs you'll gain are priceless assets that will supercharge your practice and propel you forward. Join the Guild and secure your ticket to Scottsdale at the best possible price by visiting maxlawevents.com.
You can't just start throwing money at Google and expect to be everything, at once to Google, right? You need to kind of almost niche yourself first. So think about, again, that brand I talked about. Think about what kind of clients you want to go after and what you can do to communicate that to them.
Run your law firm the right way. This is the Maximum Lawyer Podcast. Your hosts, Jim Hacking and Tyson Mutrux. Let's partner up and maximize your firm. Welcome to the show.
You're back on the Maximum Lawyer Podcast. I'm Jim Hacking.
And I'm Tyson Mutrux. What's going on, Jimmy?
Oh, Tyson, I'm excited. We got a great guest today, Chris Homer. He's a legal marketing expert out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. Happy to be here.
All right, Chris. So if you can, introduce yourself to the listeners and just tell them what you do.
Yeah, again, my name is Chris Homer. I am the legal marketing expert at GNGF, or Get Noticed, Get Found. We are a legal marketing agency based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. We've been around 7-8 years. I've been there for about 6 of those. Our main focus is quite simply to educate and empower lawyers to grow their business. So whether that's through education, like we deliver CLEs, we do webinars, we have our book, or whether it's through services, really helping lawyers understand, their marketing goals and helping get them to where they need to be in terms of, their online marketing and even offline marketing. That's what our focus is.
Chris, talk a little bit about the webinars. What do you do on the webinars and how do you connect with lawyers online?
Yeah, so the webinars, we have a regular series that we put out, and it's always, based on the topics that, people want to learn about. I'm on the phone all the time, talking with attorneys, talking with lawyers, trying to understand their marketing concerns, some questions they have, trying to educate people on what's coming in 2018, for example, right? What things you need to be looking out for. But really, it's a series of webinars where you can come in, learn something useful, 20, 30 minutes. You can watch it over lunch and, keep up to date with what's going on out there, from simple topics such as, what does my website need to look like? Just what does a basic website look like, to, how do I market to millennials in 2018? Our goal is just to, give people the power, the education, the knowledge to either do it themselves or, make educated decisions on their marketing.
All right, Chris, so I've got a question for you. So as part of our firm and a part of Jimmy's firm too, we work on, really fine-tuning our craft and getting good at what we do, being really good trial lawyers for our firm. Jimmy really, really works hard at getting great results for his clients. But whenever a potential client goes to Google, looks for us, they don't know the difference between a good attorney and a bad attorney. So what are ways that we can really get that out to them without sounding like we're bragging about ourselves?
Yeah, it's very much understanding your brand. And I think that word brand has, a kind of like a jaded meaning, or people don't understand the full meaning of the word. Most people think it's a logo, it's a color scheme, right? But really it is that intangible asset that you have, right? It's not something that the attorney down the street has, right? So in any given, agency, in any given firm, any given person, right? Whether it's, a lawyer, an attorney, whether it's, like a local business, even like a plumber, everybody has, a couple intangibles, right? A couple 3 uniques that set themselves apart from everybody else. And it's being able to take a step back and really understand what those uniques are, and then taking that and being able to communicate that online and offline. right? You can do it through your website. The way your content on your site is written is one major point of your brand, right? The types of photos, the types of things that you're promoting, social media, how you interact with people on social media is also your personal brand. And then being able to convey that offline, right? So, if you're pushing this whole brand of how, you have great assets and you're going to help people with their case because you have access to a lot of data and a lot of resources that other firms don't have, and then they come into your firm and you're in a strip mall with one office, right? There's a disconnect in that brand. So, but being able to tie everything together is very important. So I think that would be the first place I'd look. And sometimes it's offering asking hard questions to yourself or having someone challenge you on some things that you might think are unique that really aren't. And it's something that we even address in our book, some sample questions, some things to get you thinking about, what is that brand? What is that unique that I want to push out there? I think that's something that people need to step back and think about.
Let's talk a little bit about the book. Tell our listeners about the book itself. It's my understanding that you're on your 5th edition. What were the big changes this year that made you want to do a new edition, and what can you tell us about the book?
Yeah, definitely. So the last edition of our book we released in 2015, so it's been quite a while. Obviously, things have changed between over 2 years in just the general marketing space, not to mention all the legal specific stuff that's going on right now. So this is the 5th edition. It's online law practice strategies, and the overall focus, the book was always meant to educate, right? So if you want to market yourself online, the book's going to give you the tools to do it, right? The understanding of, how to set up, social media profiles, what type of content to write, even, talking about the ethics behind it, right? So what can you ethically do and don't do? Talking, general ABA rules. But this year we took a step back and wanted to make sure that we could educate a wider audience, right? I talked to a lot of attorneys and realized that there's people who are trying to get started but really just don't know where to begin. So we kind of peel back the onion a little bit and found basically 3 main concepts that we wanted to push forward in this book: protecting your referrals, growing your leads, and then kind of maximizing your yield and being able to cross the the chasm of online marketing. And I think with those 3 categories and the structure and the flow of it, there's something in there for everybody, whether you're a solo practitioner, whether you own your own firm and, you're trying to grow, or whether you're still, at big law and wanting to promote your own personal brand. There's something in there for everybody. And I think that's something that we're very proud of to push forward.
So, Chris, with protecting your referrals, can you go into a little bit deeper on that as to what you mean by that and some things that attorneys can do to protect their referrals?
Yeah, definitely. So when we're talking about protecting your referrals, it's oftentimes the most overlooked concept that we've found online. We've oftentimes had, I've talked to people or even brought on clients, and in the first 3 months, they're saying, hey, we're getting a lot of phone calls. You guys must be doing something fantastic. And in reality, we're saying, no, we actually haven't. We haven't really done any, SEO or really anything major. Your website's still not live. But it's taking the steps to, make sure your directory listings are taken care of, right? So people can find you, making sure your name, address, your phone number online match and are correct, making sure you have just, a basic website, especially if you're just starting out with just the right basic content, and then making sure you get reviews from the clients who like you, right? This is the primary source of business for almost every attorney. And it's going to continue to be that, right? The people who you take care of, people you help that want to spread that word, who want to refer you out to the people that, that need help, they're not going to go away. It's just now they're going online to find more information, and it's almost just a consumer expectation thing. When's the last time you bought a product on Amazon or a book, and how many times did you get referred, to a product and then still read reviews? Like, it happens to me all the time. Like, I have friends who know exactly what types of books I like to read. They'll refer to me, book, to pick up. I'll go on Amazon, read reviews from strangers to validate their referral, right? They're my friends. They know me. They know what I like, but I trust those strangers. I want that validation. So it's that kind of, concept we're trying to push forward and then make sure people understand is your referrals are going online. And, if what they see when they search your name as an attorney or the firm name, that makes a difference, right? If you have bad reviews out there, if someone's referred to you, the person down the street has 5-star reviews, they're not going to trust that referral as much. So it's just very much taking care of the basics, laying the foundation of your online marketing.
Chris, and then moving into the next concept in the book that you guys discuss, growing your leads. Can you sort of tell us your mindset on how lawyers can grow their leads?
Yeah, so when we're talking about protecting your referrals, right, it's very much taking care of the basics. Now, when you're trying to move in to grow your leads, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done online, and honestly, it is unique to every attorney we talk to, right? There's not a template that you can necessarily follow that's going to work for everybody. Every market's different, practice areas are different, right? Whether you're kind of like a more B2B attorney, more transactional, right, or litigator, the types of clientele you're going after are different. So there's a lot of different things that need to be, thought about when trying to invest in really growing leads from the internet. But, there are some things that you really do need to focus on, regardless. So the first thing that I would say, if you're looking to grow your leads, is look at your competition, right? If you're in a major market, chances are there's going to be competition out there who have been, investing, large amounts of dollars. I mean, $5,000, $7,000 a month for 5-7 years. I mean, they're up to almost $500,000 in investing in their, legal marketing. So, trying to catch up to that, it's going to take time, and you need to have a really set strategy and a series of goals to go after to get there. Right. It's that kind of crossing the chasm. Jeffrey Moore had a book on it, and it's a concept that I personally, really enjoy, and it's important to think about is you can't just start throwing money at Google and expect to be everything, at once to Google. Right. You need to kind of almost niche yourself first. So think about, again, that brand I talked about. Think about what kind of clients you want to go after and what you can do to communicate that to them. So what we're seeing is, pay to play is important, especially if you're just trying to start out and start growing your leads, especially if you do have those, those large firms in your area who've been investing, throwing money into Google ads or Avo ads are working very well, or even Facebook. But there's that kind of pay to play element that I think is very important that people are kind of neglecting right now. It's guaranteed visibility, which can help generate clients in the short term that can help fund your long-term SEO effort. And I think that's something that you really need to be thinking of. The second thing is really understanding, like I said, the type of content that people will want to read, and also the content that Google wants to show. If we start thinking about the search patterns and the habits of people in 2018, we're seeing a lot more voice search, right? We're seeing a lot more people asking questions. You have the Amazon Alexas that are always listening to you, wanting to answer every question you can throw at it. That could be a legal question. So thinking of content to write to match that search intent, to match that search query, right? So frequently asked questions. What we tell people, it's the easiest content you could ever write, because I'm sure you get asked, 20 questions a day that, if you could just answer on your website, might help cut back your intake time, right? But also might help, produce a more educated client coming forward. And Google loves to rank that. So that's one thing I would love to do, or I'd push people to do, a couple hundred words per FAQ, and make sure you answer that question right at the beginning, right? Don't try to bury that answer, deep down within, the FAQ. The faster and more precise you answer that question, the higher chance you have of having that question show up in like the answer cards, if you're familiar with the answer cards. So that's something that we see a lot of things happening right now in terms of growing your leads. It's a bigger strategy of leveraging content, and backlinks are still king, right? So creating content that people want to read, creating content that people want to share, and gaining backlinks to that content is still your number one ranking signal. So if you're really wanting to grow leads, that should be your primary focus. The only problem is you just can't go in day one and start doing that. It takes time to build up. You got to build up that reputation, that authority, to get to that point.
Chris, so you talked a little bit about pay to play. I guess some of the issues that I have with that is that some of the new attorneys, they just don't have the money to do the pay to play, especially if you're a personal injury attorney, you're just starting out, you're spending $3,000 to $6,000 a month to pay to play. And so some of the listeners may have an issue with that. So are there some other ways that some new attorneys can get their name out there, can be seen by Google so they can actually have a presence on the internet?
Yeah, if you don't have the funds up front to invest in that, again, if you're strapped on funds, Google is probably not your best bet especially if you're PI, right? When you're dropping $50 for a click, you need to make sure you have everything honed in. Facebook's a little cheaper done right, and so is Avo. But if I were starting out and trying to invest in long-term SEO, organic growth, I would start out and focus on what can I do for my community to get my name out there, right? Organically and naturally, not on the web. And then how can I leverage that when I, transition that to, the website or web content? It's one of the things that work very well. And again, it's a little bit cheaper to do is something like, run a scholarship program for a local student, in your area, right? $1,000 minimum, I would say. It's one time you pay it out, or $2,500 works very well. But you create a scholarship and you genuinely promote, giving back. And, there's a lot of websites out there and high schools that are looking for these to give to their students. So put that on your website. You gain a lot of backlinks to your site, natural backlinks through these scholarships. And, all of our data shows that a 1 year effort into promoting and running a scholarship, the backlinks that you get from there have continued growth, right? So if you're looking to really step it up and start ranking, that's your focus, right? So you need to get backlinks and good quality ones. So that's one way to start, right? And then you can leverage social media with that as well. So promoting that scholarship on Facebook. When you pick a winner, get one of those big checks, right? And write their name on it and bring them to your office, take a picture. You know that they're going to share it on Facebook, and then their parents and their aunts and uncles and friends are going to share it, right? It's like, it's free shares. You're leveraging their social network for your own, kind of marketing and your kind of branding. So that's, one area I would look at, right? Writing solid content, and you also can't ignore the technical stuff, right? If your website's not mobile friendly, you're not going to be able to rank if your website doesn't look good on mobile. It needs to load fast. It needs to, run well, be structured well. So you can't ignore any of that as well. But I would say, again, look back at your brand. Look back at, what kind of clients you want to get. And I would even, argue to niche yourself first. So don't go after the big car accident cases right away, day one, right? Think about some cases that are not a lot of other attorneys in your area are going after. So maybe it's, burn victims, right? Maybe it's still an injury case, not a whole lot of other competition in your area, but how can you get Google to recognize you in one area that way it's easier to add on the others? What happens a lot that we see is, hey, I'm just now starting to throw, $3,000 a month into marketing, and in 3 months, why am I not ranking? Well, you're going after, a keyword that people are paying $100 per click for. There's a lot of competition out there. You have to understand it. So finding those easy wins and having a strategy to, get there, should be really a 3-year, 5-year strategy to get where you want to be. And then being able to, break down what you need at each point along the way.
Chris, I have a new theory that I've been working on, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it and even Tyson's thoughts on it, because I think it's a little bit unorthodox. So, Chris, we have this Maximum Lawyer Facebook group where our listeners sort of get together and chat about things. And lately, people have been asking about the ROI on things like networking organizations like BNI, and also like getting involved in the local Trial Lawyers Association. And my new theory is that in 2018, a lawyer can build an entire referral funnel, everything through the internet. In other words, I am wondering whether someone can go completely online and do all of their marketing on the web. And my thought is that when you do that, even if you're still going to do the other kind of networking that I just talked about, the sort of physical face-to-face networking, it's helpful to think of it conceptually as online is online, and I need to make online work. And to think that, what if online is all that I had? What if I was in a wheelchair and I couldn't leave the office and all I could do was online? Do you think it's possible for an attorney, even one starting out, to build an online presence enough so that they don't have to go to networking events? They can turn down things like that.
I think so. I think you have to hustle, but I think you can definitely do it. And I think the reason why is, don't think of marketing yourself as just a law firm. Think about marketing yourself, or as a lawyer. Think about marketing yourself as a person, right? So you mentioned meetups and and networking things. So, for example, if you love wine, right? There's networks and there's things on LinkedIn. There's places that you can meet and connect with people who share similar passions, right? So just you as a person can build a referral network, can build that, that brand outside of marketing your legal services. And I think that's sometimes what a lot of people don't think about, right? When they think online, they think, I got to hit the keywords I want. I got to build that, that brand there. I got to build those searches. I got to build that organic profile. But there's this whole other community, like you said, where, if you could leave the office, right, you could go join a rec basketball team in a rec league, and meet people, and then, share your networking there. You could join, a church, and people know that you're an attorney. If you need help, you can offer your services there. You can do the same thing online because, there's people out there who, live in various ecosystems. I know people who live strictly within, inside of Facebook. That's all they do. There's people who live, inside of Twitter or LinkedIn or even other websites, right? There's like Yelp reviewers, and there's people who have different forums and blogs. Just think about your passions, think about your clientele, and think about building that brand that way as well. And I think that's something that as a marketing agency I can't help you with, right? You have to do that yourself, right? You have to be your own person. Now, I can't go on social media and start talking about this stuff for you, right? It needs to be you. You need to be invested in doing it. Now, I could help the strategy to do it, right? So, hey, strategically, what is your goal over the next 6 months? All right, let's start doing X, Y, and Z. But, it's got to be you. And I think it can be done, and I've seen people who have really built that community and built themselves up, from the web. It's just, you have to be able to hustle to do it.
Jimmy, to answer your question, can it be done? I think yes. All you have to do is look to Mitch Jackson because, he's done a great job of that. I have referred a case to Mitch Jackson. I've never personally met him physically in person, but I've met him online. So I think it can be done. I think Mitch Jackson's also an example of someone who is very, 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 very good at doing it. And you have a lot of noise online. I think it's still going to be much more effective to do it in person. I think you can do it. I just think it's going to be so difficult. I think, Jimmy, you do a good job of doing it. You meet a lot of your clients online because, you have to have that presence where you're almost always online, like Chris is talking about, because relationships and referrals are about relationships and really digging deep. And if it's just a surface level relationship, you're not going to be able to really build that referral funnel. It's funny because Jonathan Barber says on the comments, an entirely online referral funnel would be a godsend for introverted entrepreneurs. So I definitely think people would like to be able to do that. And I think it's possible. I just think it'd be very difficult. Joey Vitale is another good example, though, of someone who is always online, gets a lot of referrals. But again, it's an example of people that do it a lot. And so if you're going to do it, you have to commit to it. It's not something you can just sort of, okay, I'll do a little bit online, I'll do a little bit with BNI, a little bit here, a little bit there. You have to totally commit to it. It's a complete approach. But I do want to get a couple of these questions that we have, Chris. So Morris Lilienthal, he wants you to talk about backlinks and how firms can get more backlinks. And then Jonathan Barber he wanted to piggyback on top of that question with regards to what local sites are the best to get mentioned on and with regards to newspapers and other businesses as well.
Yeah, the best way to build backlinks is always through a natural way, right? One of the things we like to tell our clients and our attorneys is, work with your community to, give back, do something good. Those are natural mentions. Those are natural backlinks, whether that is sponsoring, a race or an organization or, hosting a meetup. By the way, you can get a ton of backlinks by hosting a meetup. Bring people to your office. Don't be afraid to talk to people, right? We just had that question about referrals going online. That's a great way to build backlinks. And then there's also the other way, which is just through really, really good content. There's a lot of technical methods. So there's the skyscraper technique where you look at, the top ranking content on Google, for example, for whatever term that you want to rank for. And basically you read that content and then you create content that's 10 times better than that content. Right? With the hope as, if the content is better than the one that's ranking first, people will take notice and you'll start getting the backlinks to your content instead of theirs, right? Because you're a better resource. It's more in depth. It has more, references. You put a lot more time and effort into it. So, there's that way as well. But really, backlinks is about, I wouldn't necessarily look at how do I get on the news? And you could do it. I've seen people who become the trusted partner. Again, that's just building that relationship. But I would focus on what content, what makes you unique, right? What can I write that people want to read? But more importantly, what can I write that people are looking for, right? So there's things like help a reporter out. Okay, so these are reporters, journalists, blog writers, people who are looking to write content. They're always looking for sources, right? They're always looking for references. And there's a lot of people out there looking for like attorneys and lawyers wanting to comment on whether it's new bills coming up, whether it's a recent case, whether it's, some new, wage gap law, whatever it is, right? They want an opinion. They want, some professional. So look at Help a Reporter Out. And oftentimes they're looking at like, write a paragraph or 2 sentences explaining this. And if it's good, they'll throw it in there and just ask for a backlink, right? They'll oftentimes give it to you. So there's a lot of ways to do that. It's determined on, where you're at, in your firm, where you're at in terms of your marketing and, where you want to be. So I think that's kind of, where I would start. Because it's a little bit different for everybody, but those concepts are always going to work. They're always going to hold true.
Chris, what kind of trends are you and your team seeing in 2018 as we move into the new year? What are some changes or things that people might not be thinking about or should be thinking about?
Yeah, so one of the biggest changes I think that we've been seeing over 2017 and people, going into 2018 is very much the emergence of voice search. And not just that, but it's the search intent is different, right? So, and I think that's mainly due to, if you think about the millennial generation, right? Not college kids. That's not the millennial generation anymore. I mean, myself, upwards of 35 years old, good income, family, has a house, job, nice cars. That's the millennial right now, right? But they grew up with technology. They kind of help shape all this. So it's coupling of these core concepts, I think, that people are starting to, realize, oh, it's here already. Like this was like supposed to be in the future. But it's very much, the search intent is different. People want things quicker and faster. So when they, we're seeing people go to your website less now than ever before. Why? It's because they can do a search, whether it's for, PI attorney or criminal attorney or for yourself as a, like an attorney name or law firm. And they see reviews. They see what people have to say. People are asking questions now on your Google My Business page, right? You should be answering those. People are starting to not leave search anymore. If they see everything that matches their expectations, they're just going to call you. Or they might not even call at all. We're seeing things like live chat service work very well. If you have over 1,000 visitors a month, you should for sure have live chat. There's a lot of them out there. Basically, you pay per accepted lead. So if it's if you're a PI attorney and someone's coming to you wanting a will, you can say that's not a good lead. But it's a way for you to be a 24-hour law firm, right? You can be available to people whenever they need it. Especially if you're in PI or criminal, I would say. We've seen leads increase 20. We've had leads after normal business hours, so like after 5, 6 p.m. Like 20, 25% of the leads, depending on your area, came in after normal business hours, which you could be losing those leads to someone else if you don't have, a system like that set up. And, again, it's very much intent. As a millennial, I don't mind speaking on the phone, obviously, but there's a lot of people who don't want to do that. They'd rather text and type and chat, and they want things quickly, so catering to that. Whether you love or hate Avo, that's a whole other story. Their Q&A, right, their attorney search, and their even like their legal help, which is like $35 or $100-something for like a 15-minute consultation through Avo. It's that idea, and it's not just marketing anymore, it's just expectations, right? So like people want quick legal services. And, as attorneys, this is a, debated topic, but like unbundling legal services. Like what does the future of that look like? Because that has a direct impact on how you market your services and, how you portray, your brand. So there's a whole lot of things that are happening right now that you need to be aware of. I would just boil it down again. Mobile, big focus there. I would take mobile first and think about something like live chat and think about how to match the new consumer expectation in search, whether it's, frequently asked questions or getting good reviews, but making sure that intent, that expectation is matched.
Chris, I'm not sure we really introduced the last topic of the book, and so I want to let you get into that a little bit. But before I do, you do have an offer for the listeners, and it looks like 50%. I don't know if it's 50% of your book or off your book, but to get it, I'll let you tell them what the actual deal is. But to get it, you go to gngf.com/book and use the code MAXLAW50, and you get free shipping it apparently. So, but the last really concept of the book is crossing the chasm. So can you talk a little bit about that, and then also just tell them a little bit about the offer for the book?
Yeah, so crossing the chasm, I like to look at it as, you've moved into that stage where you're wanting to grow your leads, right? You've made that decision. You have the basics down. Like, you cannot be moving into this next step unless you have that protect your referrals down. Doesn't mean you're going to stop getting reviews or stop making sure your directories are okay, but you have to get to that good point, right? And it's that understanding that I'm investing dollars into my digital asset, right? Which is what it is. It's an asset, right? And I'm just now starting, or maybe I just started last year, okay? It's understanding the expectations of where you're going to be. So I think I mentioned earlier, if I didn't, there's law firms out there, and I'm sure you know who they are in your area, who have been spending a ton of money on TV, on print, spending $7,000, $8,000 a month on digital, but they've been doing it for 5, 7, 10 years, right? So they have this all built up because they've invested into that asset. So expecting to come in right away and match that is not going to happen, right? You need to have a strategy. You need to have goals to reach, and it should be a multi-year strategy. You can get there, but it's very much understanding that, when they've invested $500,000 into their marketing over the course of a couple of years, and you've invested, 60, 70,000, there's a big difference in spend there. So you can even imagine translating that just to AdWords, right? The amount of reach they have versus the amount of reach you could have with that same budget is vastly different, right? So the whole focus of this is kind of maximizing what you have, right? So if you're putting this effort into growing your leads, right, and you're, writing a bunch of content, you're building backlinks, don't forget about the conversion end of that, right? The whole goal is to get people to call you. So give them the ability to do that. I mentioned like the live chat services, right? Getting those systems in place, throwing some money into some advertising at a certain point to increase that visibility, and being able to track everything. And I mean like everything. Whatever you're investing in online, you get to be able to track. So it's that understanding that I need to get here and I'm here. What does it take to get to that point, right? And really laying that out. If you don't understand it, you will never hit your target, right? Break out per quarter, where do I want to be, and chip away at it, right? Niche yourself, chip away, chip away, chip away, and you will get there, and you will probably spend less money to get to where they were, but you have to have a plan. And that's, I think, what a lot of people don't understand is that, step ladder, that nice climb up. People just kind of sometimes just want to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. It's just not the way to do it in 2018. So I think that's, a concept that we want to put across. It's strategy, goals, looking at the data, looking at the numbers, tracking everything, and making sure that you're making the right decisions for your marketing. And then just to reiterate the offer code for having me on this podcast today, which I'm very grateful for, we have the book that I talked about. It covers a lot of these concepts and more. Again, it's good for every attorney out there. The offer is 50% off the book, which is great. So it also includes free shipping. So you can go to gngf.com/book. MaxLaw50 is the code, MAXLAW50, and that'll get you 50% off and free shipping.
Chris, thanks so much for that very generous offer. I'm going to, as soon as we get off the call, order that book myself. For my last question, because we are running up against the time, and I want to respect your time, break down for me, if you would, when you deal with attorneys, if you had to sort of categorize them as to where they are in understanding what it is that you do, like if you had a spectrum from 0 to 100, where do most attorneys, or like if you had chunks of groups, how would you break it down as far as, are you working with people that are brand new or that you have to explain a lot of things to, or is it more people that are up and running and already get it?
I would say it's a good mix. I don't want to necessarily say 50-50, but again, our goal is to educate and empower lawyers to grow their business, whether that is strictly through education, whether they're literally just looking for something to do it themselves. The book is something that we can offer to help with that. Or if it's someone coming out of law school or someone that's leaving big law to open their own firm, getting them to understand these concepts and saying, let's just get that foundation. I think that's a big chunk of people that we've been talking to right now. It's really getting that structure in place and making sure they have a good plan of growth. And then we do have quite a bit of lawyers that have been working with us for years, that we've been running their digital strategy and really helping them grow their leads. And then, they're to that point right now where they're really maximizing their yield, and we're continuing to grow and grow and grow and set themselves apart from their competition. So, we, at the end of the day, love hearing that we grew a firm, whether it's they hired another partner or they hired another associate attorney or opened a new office location, or even said, hey, can we talk next week? I'm just too busy right now. Like, that is our goal. That's what makes me proud, as it makes me happy. And if we can do that, no matter what it is, we succeeded as an organization.
Very good stuff, Chris. All right, we do need to wrap it up. So before we get to our tips and the hacks of the week, I do want to remind everyone to go to the Facebook group, join there, get involved in the discussions and the conversation. If you don't mind, please go to iTunes or wherever you get your podcast and give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it. Jimmy, what's your hack of the week?
So in my never-ending quest to tame my self-diagnosed ADHD, I have been trying to find a way to concentrate more, and our office is a very loud place, so I got these noise-reducing headsets, and I've found myself listening to the same song over and over and over, and it really helps me focus. I'm surprised by it, but usually I'm in a sort of a mood for a particular song. I listen to that song, and then it really helps me focus I don't know if it's the repetition or what, but it's really helped me focus and to sort of drown out the outside noise.
So I shared an article it was from Inc. magazine. I shared it on the Facebook group a few months ago, and it has the top 10, the least stressful songs ever, or something like that, the top 10 least stressful songs. And I downloaded those from iTunes. They actually really are. They really work. And I don't know if it's one of those things where it's just in my head where I think it works, but I will play that on a loop, the 10 songs. And, I mean, sometimes I don't get through all 10 of them, but it actually really does work. So I think that's a good tip. All right, Chris, so we ask our guests to give us a tip or a hack of the week. So you got a tip for us?
My tip that I tell everybody, and it's not timely, this is something you should always be doing, is constantly Google yourself. Look at what people say about you, look at what comes up, and be aware of what's out there. If you want a specific tip right now, beginning of 2018, going into this new year, I would say really, really, really put a heavy focus on fast load time on mobile. I think that's going to be a huge difference maker over the next year, making sure it's loading very quickly. Look at AMP. That is one trend that we're seeing right now in terms of the top people in search. They're quick.
That's a good one. Also, set up a Google alert for your name so
Yes.
that you see if your name's coming up. That's a good one, too. My tip of the week is it's January 8th. And my tip is to set up your content calendar. It's not too late. Go ahead and set it up. If you need a sample, email me and I will send it to you. It's definitely not too late to get it going. Listen, if you can get organized by January 15th for the rest of the year or the next few months, you're going to have a head start against all these other firms. So set up your content calendar. That is our show for this week. Chris, we really appreciate you coming on. Thanks a lot. It was a lot of great content, and thanks for all the people that have watched today. So this is a good one. So, Jim, you got anything else?
Nope, that's it for me. Thanks, Chris.
All right, Jim, Tyson, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Maximum Lawyer Podcast. To stay in contact with your hosts and to access more content, go to MaximumLawyer.com. Have a great week and catch you next time.